able to see. Moments. See, moments, they define us. The smallest of them with greatest power. Who we are in the dark becomes a revelation in the light. All the pain that turned into the expectation. The drops of sweat that hid our tears. The moments we battle through together makes us who we are.
Hey, bro, we a team, we a unit.
And we are never afraid of the unknowns. You see, seasons come and go.
Loser of this game eliminated from the playoff picture.
It's like a day that wasn't meant to be.
People come and go. But in order to be successful, you have to love the game more than the name. This quest has never been about our names anyway, because outside these walls, it's just noise. The traditions we uphold, the honor we bestow, this star we carry gives us purpose. You see, we understand the timing of this opportunity, an opportunity to respect this game, to walk a new road, to facilitate greatness. And it starts with one thing, a moment in time. You see, we see the magnitude. We know we have control of this moment.
Come on, baby, let's get it.
To define ourselves with greatness, relentlessness, and unending desire to fight.
Fight and keep battling and finish the right way. And those are things we try to emphasize to our team day in and day out.
We don't need hype.
Lay your ass off for 60 minutes, man.
We don't need a reason why.
Nobody can stop you, King.
We don't need approval.
Find a way to win, boys.
We just need a moment.
Cowboys on three. 1, 2, 3, Cowboys.
The Cowboys are the #1 brand in the world, and they've largely for 15 years been average.
It has to be the head coach is gone, and it has to be number 88 is gone.
They don't want Dez Bryant in the building at no salary.
They didn't even offer Dez the opportunity to get a pay cut. They sat up there and said, we're moving in a different direction.
Dak's the real deal, and only getting better.
The problem is Jerry Jones. It's a culture of lack of accountability.
Well, Zeke's got to have another season like he did in his rookie campaign when he had 1,000 yards from scrimmage on first down.
And the truth of the matter is, it shouldn't be the case that out of 16 teams in the NFL.
What's up with you guys? It is your boy, your hostess with the mostest, West Coasters. Oh, I like that. I might just put that on a t-shirt. I like that a lot. All right, but yeah, it's your boy West Coast, and we are in the building. We're doing something different tonight. Why? Because you guys already know Dallas Cowboys scouting is not about West Coast. It's about y'all. So I think every Thursday we're going to start doing something called the Round Table. Now, even though this says Cowboys Hot Topics West Coast and Sin City Cowboy, because I forgot to change the text, this is still going to be called the Round Table. So, you know, I got a couple of my knowledgeable people and my knowledgeable friends. I got my boy Sin City to the left, if y'all can see him. He's the immediate to the left. And then right below us, we have one of the godfathers in this cowboy blogging business, Mr. Barry from Oats, Comcast Cowboy himself. How you doing, brother?
I'm good, West Coast, but glad to be on the show with you in Sin City, man. Big shout out to Vegas.
Hey!
Hey, right on.
Yeah, I had to hit them up today about some betting endeavors on those there Dodgers, and I got some good advice from them. I got some good advice for me. But hey, man, before we get this thing popping, man, this is the Round Table. You know, every week we're gonna try to get as many people on here as possible. Zoom says I can put 100 people in here. I don't know how that would work, but I'm gonna try to get as many people in here each Thursday, and let's just talk about some random topics and stuff that's floating around in the neighborhood of the Cowboy Nation. So my boy Comcast hit me up today, and he was very perplexed when he called me. I'm not gonna lie to you, Sin City. He was very perplexed when he called me today. For big word terminology, that means he was pretty pissed. You know what I'm saying? Ghetto terminology means he was hot. In North Atlanta, he wanted that smoke. You know what I'm saying? That's all the breakdowns of how he felt today. And he asked me, West Coast, what is a real fan? Well, just Oats, what happened? Tell me what you said when you told me today. Tell me. Talk to me.
So, yeah, basically we just had a question today that was posed in the group. You know, we've seen a lot of the Dak bashing going back and forth. And, you know, my thing is retired military. I'm on top of the leadership. I'm looking at the coaching staff. I'm looking at the Joneses and, you know, everything that they're doing. And because I leave it to the X's and O's like you, Sin City, those folks out there that I can really get the knowledge from. But from a fan perspective, I see a lot of folks in a lot of groups that are talking about Dak that want to voice their opinion with, how his inability to be effective in year 3 is probably more than he should be. They get called a fake fan. So, I wanted to pose the question in the group, and I just said, what is the definition, or how would you easily identify a fake fan in our fan base? And I'll tell you that the answers varied across the board, which I knew that they were. And a lot of folks were quite surprised, and even some had popped up in our feed and said, well, that happened to me in this group before. And, I said, our group is not totally clean, but I'm glad that this is the discussion that's being talked about now, because I see it more and more, that if you don't if you disagree with something from the Cowboys in terms of the players, the coaching, or whatever, and if you want to voice that out on the public in social media or something like that, people want to attack you and call you a fake fan, you're not loyal, you're not a supportive fan, this, that, and the other. So, the answers were varied. So I wanted to, come on the show with you tonight and thank you for having me and talk with you and some other knowledgeable folks out there like Sin City and Vegas, and get you guys' perspective to add to the discussion. Have you, A, seen this, and are you familiar with what I'm talking about? And then B, what really is the definition of a fake fan, if we could kind of put a fan in one?
Well, shoot. Sin, I'll let you get that first, man. What's your thoughts, man? I want to be the gentleman tonight.
Let's get some housekeeping going on, man. I want to thank everybody on YouTube, everybody on Facebook, everybody over there at Dallas Cowboy Scouting, everybody following Comcast Cowboy. Thank you for being here. We couldn't do it without any of you guys. Make sure you hit the follow, like, subscribe. That's how we keep the lights on, and we appreciate you guys being here. As far as a fake fan, man, everybody knows bandwagon fans. You're here when the times are good. You're gone when the times are tough. Right now, times ain't necessarily, you don't really know where we're at. Jury's still out, so we still got some of those fair weather fans that are still here. Problem is, I think, is a lot of fans right now, they're in a weird place, man. I've seen a lot of people calling for, like, Tony Romo to come back and coach, and calling for Chris Richard to jump into the head coaching position. A lot of this stuff are big, radical moves that you don't even know if it would work. You wonder how much thought was really put into this stuff. I understand that you have hopes, but I think there's a lot of fans right now that are still around that just don't really know what's going on or have any sense of reality when it comes to that sort of thing. We're calling for Tony Romo back. And that dude is retired, making millions of dollars in the AC, talking about football. He's not going to leave that booth. And as far as Dak Prescott, I think they just don't want to, they're not ready to admit that there could be a problem there. But if you're going to admit it, now's the time. But they realize that if you were to admit it, you're going to probably have to start over. It's going to mean another couple years without a Super Bowl. And, sometimes you just got to be slapped in the face, man. You need that hard information. That's tough love.
Yeah. And I think it's the same way, bro. It's like, if you, at the first, this is my thing, right? If you don't view your team as a family, like I view my team as a family. So it's like I'm the Cowboys are my family. I'm stuck with them. You know what I'm saying? I got a couple cousins. It's 50 people in here watching, so I ain't gonna name no names. But I'm gonna tell a couple cousins that we ain't the most proud of right now. But that don't change the fact that they still my family. You know what I'm saying? So that's why when people ask me questions like, who do you love more, Romo or Dak? It's like, what you mean? I love them the same. I love my auntie just as much as I love my uncle. You know what I'm saying? I don't love them different. I love them differently, but to the degree of love, it's the same thing. But at the same time, though, I think as a fan base, I think there's a lot of times where we just kind of gift our loyalty and our love to a player or to anything, and then we don't give them time to earn it, right? So a good example of that, I think, is Dak Prescott, right? Where a lot of people just, when Dak Prescott became your quarterback, you just gifted him all your love and all the same way you viewed Romo, you put that on Dak Prescott. Even though Romo had been your quarterback for almost 14 and a half years, Romo earned your love, whether he had it or he didn't have it. He earned it. You know what I'm saying? And then you took that same amount of love that you have for Romo and you equated it to Dak Prescott in his 11 games. And guess what? Now there's causing chinks to come in their armor, and so people are feeling like they have to choose a side. Well, you don't have to choose a side. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't have to choose to love my kids today or love them tomorrow. I just love them. Now, do I love their actions today more than I love their actions tomorrow? Guess what? That depends on my child. Like, that depends on them.
Well, Tyson, this is what I'm talking about, and for Sin City over there too. I think we're kind of getting off the path. It was more so about the fans and social media. Like, I run a group with over 12,000 Cowboy fans. I'm an official America's team. Check it out. I got a great admin team there. We got a different discussion every day about our team. We share all of the, the fan club stuff and all of the event stuff going on around the fan base. So if you want to look for a good home, come check us out. And check out the site at officialamericansteam.com. We are the only site, sharing stories about the fan base out there, and appreciate folks that have platforms like Tyson to help us get that out there, so we can cover what the fans are talking about. So I think what the real meat of it is if somebody says, "Oh, Dak sucks," or "Dak is this," and then people say, "Oh, you a fake fan," and you get down to that level, and then it gets to, and I really think, my perspective on it is, I just think folks, and like Sin City alluded to it, folks just aren't educated enough on their team, their players, to really have a substantial argument that they could, articulate in a way that would not lead to, bashing and, all that other crazy stuff that you guys see happening online. So that's, I kind of think, where the direction is going. It's not so much how do we love them any differently. That's a great point. We're all family, but it's, Dak sucks. Let's bring back, Romo. And like we all hear that, but it's, no, you're a fake fan because you don't support Dak. Support everybody from the janitor to the owner all the time. And then I think that's that gifting your loyalty away to the star, and in terms of everything. Like, it's okay to have a disagreement with something that they do. It's okay to have a problem with the way that the player is performing. But when folks get online to talk about it, they get attacked by other Cowboys so-called fans saying, "Oh, you're a fake fan."
Exactly. And that's go ahead. And
that's where we're going.
Yeah, and that's a good point, and that's where I brought up the point about family. Because if you see someone as family, then your fandomship can't change. Like, my cousin can never be higher than my cousin. My cousin can never be my sister. You know what I'm saying? That's just they'll always be in that position. So guess what? Your love for your Cowboys, it should be able to increase, but there should be nothing that your team, if you truly love that person or love that team, there's nothing that your team's going to do that's going to make you love your team less. Why? Because at the end of the day, you have to understand that your team is trying to win a Super Bowl. Now, are they trying to win it by any means necessarily? Who knows? They're trying to win it by the way they want to. But I think people bring up the fake fan because people feel like, well, I'm a real fan and I agree this way. So if you don't agree with me and I'm a real fan, then you must not be real. Well, that's not real, because guess what? I can have we all have $20 in our pocket right now. Well, guess what? We all have $20 in our pocket 3 different ways. I got a $20 bill. Sin City got a $10 bill and two fives. And guess what, Oates? You got $21 bills. But at the end of the day, it's all $20. And that's exactly how it is when you view your quarterback or when you view someone on your team. If you love your team, if you love someone, you should want the best for them. And my thing is this, can we all agree that Dak is struggling? Or let's not even say Dak. Let's not even say Dak, because people get all wrapped up in Dak. Let's say Anthony Brown.
No, let's talk about Dak, bro. Let's not skirt it.
Okay.
The issue.
So let's talk about Dak Prescott. Let's talk about Dak Prescott.
Let me get in here.
Go ahead.
I do want to say, I like what Comcast said. I think you need to be able to articulate what you're saying with a lot of fans now. You have to kind of walk on eggshells with some of these dudes, man, and chicks. But long story short is that if you don't have a reason that you can back up you can have a different opinion. That's allowed. Like, some people think that you're not a fan if you never question a team. I completely disagree with that. If that's your view of what a true fan is, then that's okay, because that's your opinion.
Yep.
But you need to have a reason why that's your opinion. Just like if I think that this particular person, or like we're going to talk about Dak, if I think Dak is struggling, as long as I can articulate exactly why he's struggling, then I have a reason for it. And we're all still fans, none more than the other, just like your $20 analogy. But as long as you can really produce that to somebody and let them know. You made the analogy earlier. If I just say a team sucks, that just is because you don't like that team.
Exactly.
You tell them they suck because they can't run the ball, or they can't pass the ball, or the front office is subpar and they're making bad moves. Well, now you have a reason to support what your opinion is. And, I think that's more of a fan, in my opinion. I don't know where the official Americans team was getting at it with earlier today, but that's what my opinion would be. So you really need to support your position. Otherwise, you're just shooting from the hip. And, anybody can do that. Opinions are like, everybody knows the rest of that.
Exactly.
Yeah. And let me just add this, when it comes to social media, we know that 95% of it is all negative bullshit anyway, because everybody wants to get on there and they want to spew or vent or say stuff on the keyboard that they wouldn't say in person otherwise. But I think when it comes to Cowboy fans, I think if people know you online as a respectable, knowledgeable Cowboy fan, they probably don't get it as much. But when you're in a group house with so many different people and there's not enough regular conversation to know who's who in the zoo, so to speak, when you got folks coming in, chiming in, you got the other folks that feel, hey, I'm a bigger fan than you, and that doesn't go in line with what my loyalty to the team is, so I'm going to call you out and say you're a fake fan. Well, I think that's very vague.
Exactly.
In any kind of argument, you always want to improve it with your wordplay, and that's what I really like about Tyson, because he goes to all 32, he breaks down the film, he's not just giving his opinion on what he think it is, he gives you factual documentation, and I think that really scares a lot of people, because you're now on to have a substantial conversation or argument for that speaking. A lot of people shy away from that because they don't know facts.
Yeah.
And I think if more and more of that, which I love what he's doing with his scouts, that's going to create an army of those folks that are going to police ourselves, so to speak. And I just wanted to be, one of the folks that, come out here and bring this discussion up, because I hate seeing it.
Exactly.
You may have a very knowledgeable fan and they say one thing, and then you see somebody else pop up and you don't know who they are, or you're a fake fan, and it's like, and then you don't want to try to get to explaining yourself, because I ain't got 26 hours in a day to be sitting online talking with Cowboy fans all day trying to educate you.
Yeah.
I mean, that's why we watch West Coast.
And I'm going to tell you something else, too. Another point, and I want to move on to something else. Something else that people need to realize is football is a twofold. You can be an extreme Dallas Cowboy fan and know nothing about football. And I'm gonna be honest with you, that's just real. Like,
that's very true. That's very true.
And what people
all the time, I'm not an X's and O's guy. That's why I follow somebody like you, because I can get it.
Now I'm gonna give a prime example is, let me tell you, growing up, if you ask me right now who is the biggest fan of Cowboys that I know, is my mother. You wanna know why? Because we were broke 90% of my life growing up. And I'm going to tell you, my mom still made ways for me to experience Dallas Cowboys. How she made it happen, I don't know, bruh. Couldn't tell you to this day, but guess what? She made it, make sure that it was happening. My mom was telling me, you're going to be a Jameson and you're going to be a Cowboy fan. That's just what it was in my house.
That's a good mama right there.
Exactly. But now, let me tell you something. When we watch games, I'm now teaching my mom the X's and O's of football, and she loves it. My mom goes to more football games than anybody I know of. High school football on Friday, and she go up to Palo Alto to watch my little cousin play for Stanford. She go to Palo Alto almost every week, drive up there every week to see him play. You know what I'm saying? And you can't tell me she not the biggest Cowboy fan, but I'm going to tell you, my mom's knowledge of actual what is happening, she did know that Jason Garrett should have went on 4th and 1, and I thought that was funny. Even my mom said he should have went. She said, why he didn't throw the ball to Zeke? He was open. I said, I don't know, Mom. But yeah, I just think people need to also understand that there are people who are equally in love with Cowboy football and know just as much about Roger Staubach and blah, 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 blah. But guess what? They know equally as much about football. See, that's the difference. There's a lot of people who have just been fans of the Cowboys, and that's okay. To be a fan of the Cowboys, you're not required to be to know how to play football. Just like to drive a car, you're not required to be a mechanic. You know what I'm saying? You just got to know how to turn it and start it. You know what I'm saying? Exactly. You're absolutely right, Oates. That's why you have people like Sin City, and that's why you have people like me to come for that extra information. But that's what people need to understand, that, just because you know every Dallas Cowboy quarterback that didn't play for the Cowboys for the last 15 years straight, don't mean that you're an expert in X's and O's. What makes you an expert in X's and O's is film, period. Hey, if you're not watching film, you're not an expert, period.
Let me just start out with somebody commented, Wendy Mason commented, she said, or I don't know, I would take it, fake fan is fake news. And, I don't know, that's crazy that somebody would say that, because I had that same thing, that a lot of the rhetoric you see in the political arena, you see on social media and the football media. You know what I'm saying? A lot of the, you're not of this supporter or that supporter, you're fake because you believe in this, you fake. And I think that may permeate from, some of those emotions that are tied to that, because it's a passion that people have, and then you attach it to a passion like the Dallas Cowboys, and a lot of that mechanics that people would use in those arguments or those situations they convey that online.
Yep.
And then a lot of folks just don't know etiquette, going all caps and how that goes. And I just think that as fans, we educate. If we continue to have these discussions at roundtables, and we can get this out there, that folks will maybe lighten up a little bit and have more respect for a Cowboy fan, because we're all smart. There's a lot of talent in this fan base. Everybody got something to offer, and why we gotta constantly be saying I'm better than you and I'm a more real fan than you? And I've never said to anybody ever in my life that I'm more of a Cowboy fan of you, bigger than you, because I do this. Well, that would be easy for somebody to say, well, you don't know X's and O's. And then I would say, well, you don't blog and you don't pay for all this stuff it takes to run a site for a Cowboy site either. So I would have that argument, but not everybody's going to do that. Just like we all express our passion for the team differently. But I think more about it on those mechanics is something as a fan base that we need to work on.
Yeah, and that's a great, and that's pretty much the point that I'm trying to make. Like, Dallas Cowboys. To be honest with you, I'm going to keep it real with you. I actually know more about football than I know about the Dallas Cowboys. You want to know why? Because there are more moving parts with the Dallas Cowboys than there are with football. You know what I'm saying? There will always be 11 and 11 on football. You know what I'm saying? If I see a wide open hole, if I see a cornerback get, a wide receiver running past a cornerback and they're in cover 2, I know for a fact that somebody didn't do their job. Why? Because 1 + 1 is always going to equal 2. But guess what? The Dallas Cowboys change every single year. Think of this, guys. We took 109 people to camp this year. Only 30 of them had ever even played for the Dallas Cowboys. 30! That's 70% of your team, brand new. How am I supposed to keep up with them dudes? I don't. My auntie Gina does. Google it. That's what I tell people. Like, instead of getting on Facebook and assuming a fact. Like, my last thing I'm going to say on this, and then we're going to open up to these comments, because they're getting on us about getting on these comments. I told somebody today, they made a point. Tony Romo, with his offense, has never scored more than 21 points per game in a playoff game. I'm like, bruh, that's not true. I'm like, I remember us beating Philadelphia 34 points. You know what I'm saying? Well, and then he tells me, well, I'm not no obsessed fan, so yeah, I don't have to know all that. Well, I'm thinking this. That's cool. You're right. You're not an obsessed fan, whatever that is, but you're not an obsessed fan, so you don't know your team beat their rival in the playoffs to advance to the playoffs. Whatever.
Well, they're basically just saying that I'm not a fan that knows as much like you do in that way, so I'm going to resort to this. So I don't
exactly. But let me tell you the point I made with him. This is the point I made with him. I said, okay, now I need you to go edit your statement, because your statement is false. And you know what he did? He edited his statement. But you know what he didn't? What he should have did once he edited it? He should have deleted it. You want to know why? Because the facts changed. If you have a factual evidence, right? Yeah. And then I have a fact that supersedes your fact, guess what, bruh? You have to change your opinion now. You can't think that Tony Romo is a trash quarterback and didn't do that, and I just presented you something that showed you that he did. You have to then go back and say, oh, damn, maybe I need to rethink that.
Well, see, that's a behavior that's perpetuated all throughout social media until somebody is called out on it. And then they know clearly, West Coast knows what he's talking about, so I got to take it for. But as somebody, 5 other people he may have ran that game on, people are going to fall for that. And that's just what I hate to see, is people fighting. I get just as frustrated as everybody else. And I agree, Dak has regressed, and I have my own opinion on that, and we can get into that. But, I mean, at the end of the day, I don't really think there's such a thing as a fake fan. I
don't think so either. I
just think we need to educate everybody and help raise our fandom, so we're not called delusional and looked at like a bunch of stepchildren as a fan base, because there is a lot of talented wisdom fans in this fan base that can help elevate the fan base, if that makes any kind of sense.
Yep.
Sure. I also want to say that I think also a lot of it has to do with maturity. People that are a little bit more mature are going to be open to understanding that they could possibly be wrong, to a different opinion. And that's really what we need in our fan base. So many people just dig their heels in the sand and don't want to be pulled in one direction or the other one. They feel like where they're at right now is right. And even if you do prove them wrong, a lot of times they just leave, disagreeing with you and not really being receptive to what you're saying. I mean, me and Tyson talk all the time. We had a knockdown drag out before we went live this morning on a disagreement we had.
Hey, that's house business, man. That's house business.
Hey, Steve, he told me about it.
That's house business.
I can relate to you. So.
But go ahead. What was we talking about, though?
Hey, it's all good, though, right? Because you can agree to disagree. You can have 2 different opinions, and we both have reasons to back up why we felt that way, and that made neither one of us were wrong because of that.
Yeah.
And then, you know, and bottom line is that if you're flat out wrong, if Tyson sat here and told me something that I wouldn't think of, and I looked at it and I wasn't looking at it in that point of view, I would understand. Hey, man, there's always something to learn. And if you think that you've gotten to a point where you've learned all there is to know about football, then I'll tell you what, I'll take a page out of Tyson's book, slap yourself.
Yeah, man. But hey, that's why we encourage. That's why I always tell people in the comments, like we about to get to some comments right now because they getting on us about not getting to them. But that's why I always encourage you guys to get on them comments because, like I said, this show is about you guys. That's why I got this new program called Zoom. Zoom is a program I pay for, and it allows me to get up to 100 people up in here, and we want to know what the nation is really talking about. So I'm trying to get up in this god dang thing so I can see what it's talking about. Okay, here we go. So Rich says, I knew coming into the season we would have to be a top 5 defense. My boy White Williams, Mike says, West Coast, do you think we're gonna sign a safety come in for a visit? What are your thoughts on us signing a safety or anybody coming in for a visit as of right now? What are you guys' thoughts on that?
We talked about it earlier. I think Obi, I can't pronounce his last name, Olowanfu, or I can't remember how exactly it goes. I think that one is a low risk, high reward. He's a former second-round pick. He's often injured. We've taken risks like that before with Ronald Leary and Alfred Morris. I think that's a good risk to take, and he'll fill a gap. We just lost Goodwin, who we recently signed. He had a forearm injury, so he's out. So we need to fill it one way or the other. I don't think that's a bad move. Second-round pick. He's got athleticism, talent, and size. Now he just has to stay healthy and perform.
Yeah. E. Kush says, same here, but I'm sure the D is getting pissed about working to keep us in it, and they find ways to lose. He's saying, Earl, I got some people saying, what are y'all thoughts on, Oates, what's your thoughts on Earl Thomas next year, man?
Yeah, I think with the injury, it really decreased his stock overall. So would he, come back as the Earl Thomas that he was, wagering down to now? We know he can still play at a high level, but I think after that injury coming back, he's more of a liability. So, again, the X's and O's, that's why I watch you guys. But, we definitely, I'd seen somebody in one of your comments brought up the safety from I think it's Green Bay, Clinton Dix or something like that. He's up on he's about to be a free agent or something like that. So somebody was trying to get some run on that. I can't remember the name of the person. So I don't know who's on the market or who it would be, but that's why I follow you guys, so I would know. So when I have that conversation in my group, I can sound like I know what I'm talking about.
I heard that, man. Mike says that Obi and Byron Jones were teammates. Yeah, they were both team. They only played together a year. But I ain't gonna lie. The only thing that kind of scares me about Obi is just his injury history. Like, bro, you've been in the NFL almost a year and almost 2 years, and he's only appeared in 5 games. There's 16 games in a season. That's 32 opportunities. He only played in 5. I ain't even doing the math, but I know that's not more than 20%. You know what I'm saying? So I would like to almost think that the Raiders kind of reached on him already. You know what I'm saying, when they did draft him, because, I know his stock at the Combine really did a really good job of boosting him up there. So when they took him in the second round, they had a brand new coach, a coach that's not even there no more. I just think they were kind of reaching. He was reaching for the sky and trying to look for stars. You know what I'm saying? And I think they grabbed Obi thinking that they were going to, get more of his Combine tape. But you really don't know what you're getting. You know what I'm saying? That's why today when we talked about him, Phil, I even told him at the beginning of the show, I was like, bro, we can only really talk about his college. You know what I'm saying? Because he really hasn't done anything as a pro. But Phil, he enlightened me on the fact that he only costs like $580,000. Now, I know that's a lot of money for me. I ain't even gonna lie, man. Like, that's a lot of money for West Coast. But I guess in the football stratosphere, that's not a lot of money. So, I don't see, for $600,000, I don't see why. Dak is playing quarterback starting for $600,000. So why not bring a guy in and let him play some safety for $6K?
Yeah. I'll say this too, man. Just the way that we're saying it's really hard for us to get a wide receiver in Dallas due to our offensive run-first style and the fact that Dak just really doesn't end up with a lot of passing yards each game. So you have very much fewer opportunities than you would have elsewhere. I think if we're going to try and pull somebody in on the defensive side of the ball as a free agent, I think a top-tier player, no matter what position they're at, is more prone, at least from my experience, to go to a team with a solid defense already. I mean, that's why you see people kind of gravitate towards the Jaguars of the world and the Ravens of the world, because they have the ability to compile some more stats. They know they're going to be around the ball with other playmakers, which is going to free them up to do more. At least that's my opinion of it. I don't know what your take is. But as far as safety, while you guys are talking, I pulled up who's going to be coming into the free agent market as of right now. I believe it's Landon Collins, Earl Thomas, HaHa Clinton-Dix out of Green Bay, LaMarcus Joyner out of the Los Angeles Rams, and Honey Badger, Tyrann Mathieu of Houston, Texas.
I like Joyner. I ain't gonna lie. I didn't even know about Joyner. I like him. I ain't gonna lie. But I can almost guarantee you Joyner won't hit the open market. They've already invested too much into their defense. The defense is really supposed to be the backbone of that team. They're honestly, I see like abrupt subject change. I understand why Jerry Jones said that the Dallas Cowboys kind of remind him of the Los Angeles Rams outside of the whole winning aspect. I guess that means something. But everything else, I can see why he feels that. You know what I'm saying? Because Jared Goff, yes, he was a touted quarterback, but when people looked at his skill set, they necessarily weren't really touting. You know what I'm saying? It was just about more of his yardage, the system that he came out of. You know what I'm saying? And then with, who they have over there, good old 8-8 coach Fisher. Fisher's kind of like Garrett, you know what I'm saying? He's a really good coach of getting you to 8, keeping you right at above the cusp. You know what I'm saying? He ain't going to get you no 4 and 3s and 12, 3s and 13s, but he's just good enough to keep you right at 8 and 8. You know what I'm saying? Him and Jeff Fisher. So, when they switched out and went to McVay, I think that they used the same talent. You know what I'm saying? They didn't really improve all these different parts. They actually improved more on defense than they did on offense, because remember, defense was supposed to be their catalyst. But McVay and his scheme has really, allowed these boys to flourish. Like, they got Cooper Kupp, he wasn't a high draft pick. They got Farrow, he wasn't a high draft pick. They got Robert Woods, he wasn't a high draft pick at all. You know what I'm saying? None of these guys. I don't think any of those guys were drafted outside of the 3rd round.
West Coast, hold that thought right there. While we're talking about draft picks and we're talking about leadership, coaching and recruiting, folks that work on those players, like everybody knew that Dak was a 4th rounder. And so now after 3 years, and I'm going to bring the Dak subject up. I mean, it's a hot topic among fans. As I've read somebody's comment in here, somebody said, this is what made me think about that. Let me scroll back here. They asked, is Cooper any good? And the first thing that I thought to my mind was, I think he's really good, but then he's not going to be good if Dak can't get him the ball. And so I think a lot of folks are saying that we can all three agree to the fact that Dak is having trouble getting the ball to receivers. Am I saying anything wrong here?
Yeah.
No, agree.
I mean, it's not even what we say. Is that what the film? The actual question should be: is that what the film says? The film says yes. But at the same time, I will. This is my thing also too about Dak Prescott. Like, yes, there are other things that are going on the offense. Like, there's some bad offensive line play. There's a wide receiver who isn't as good as the guy you really want. Okay, there's a running back who I got a whole show that I've done that I'm about to break down all of Zeke's runs from last week. Why? Because I think it's necessary, because they did something that only Denver has done, and that's shut the best running back out. Like, they literally had Zeke frustrated. You know what I'm saying? When it comes to the running aspect, I think he didn't full go ape wild on him because he was still being effective in the passing game, but what Zeke wanted to do, he was not able to do at all. And they did a really good, and it was really only 2 people that was on it. The Brown dude and this, I forget the other guy's name, but the Brown, the linebacker dude, he was all over Zeke. But I say all that to say this, man. I think, and I kind of lost my point because I was wanting to go somewhere.
We're talking about Dak and his effectiveness, because somebody asked about Cooper, and then Kush brings up an actual good point. Says actually Cooper is better for Dak than Dez ever was. So I know that's probably a 3-part conversation there, but I think it didn't matter if Julio or Jones showed up. Like, if Dak can't stand in the pocket or get outside of the pocket and effectively get to the ball, it
doesn't matter.
On the spot and anticipate what the receiver is going to be, it doesn't matter who we got out there. I mean, I think we can all agree to that.
That's true. That's true.
Yeah, absolutely.
Hey, I got a question in here. They got a question in here. My boy. They were asking basically about the tight ends. Like, what are your thoughts on the tight ends? Daniel says, ask the round table. Speaking of the tight ends, what y'all what tight ends y'all ever been to tight ends in Plano, Texas? I don't know what that means, but he's asking, what are you guys' thoughts on tight ends? Do we need to? What do we need to do basically with the tight end position, man? What's your thoughts, Sin City, on that, man?
I think we're in trouble right now. Swain is hurt. I don't know the extent of that injury yet. I need to look in on that. But I don't think that he's the answer regardless. So we're not going to find the answer this season. I don't think he's on the roster. If he is on the roster, I think the person that has the most potential of filling somewhat of Jason Witten's shoes would be Rico Gathers, and that's because of the size matchup that he brings, the athleticism, the ability to pull in the one-handed catches and things of that nature. He just creates so much for you on offense that a lot of defenses can't really compete with, and that's why you see tight ends of his ability be so successful in the NFL. However, I think we're in trouble as far as tight end is concerned. Hopefully we can cover that up and other positions can step up to fill the need. I think it's something that we need to address either in free agency or in the draft again. It's going to be a tough one. We addressed it already, and I just don't think that we got the right guy for it in college. Not a whole lot of catches for the Schultz, the guy we drafted in college. Mostly a blocker. I don't think he's the guy. Jarwin's going to be the closest thing we got to what Swain is, besides Rico.
My question is this, bruh. How often do we use the tight end? Because I'm going to tell you, my wife won a whole bunch of new appliances, but I'll be like, you don't even use that. So, no, we not buying that. So, you know what I'm saying? Like, we don't even use that. So, bruh, we have 2 games right now on record as Cowboys where we have one game where we didn't even target the tight ends at all. Like, we didn't even target them. Like, he didn't even look at the tight ends. 0 targets.
I'll just tell you guys this. And
then we have a
perspective, not an XO guy. You know, I met Rico in Miami when I went out to the Miami takeover, and we're having another one out in Vegas next June. If you want to learn about that, how you can come out, party 3 days with a bunch of Cowboy fans. There's gonna be about 1,000 Cowboy fans there with about 5 to 8 actual Cowboy players at the Vegas explosion right out there in Sin City's backyard at the MGM Grand. So check out the site for that. But I met Rico. Rico's a huge dude. I think now it's the time for them to go in on it and see what he's about. Because if we let him sit there and collect whatever it is he's collecting, by the end of the season we watch him walk, somebody's going to take that cat and they're going to make him into a successful threat because of what Sin City said, his size. And agree, the dude is a behemoth. I mean, he's big. But, you know, we understand there may be some challenges, maybe on football IQ, maybe on blocking. But, I mean, for a red zone target, we get in there. I mean, there's no other bigger target for Dak to he can just throw the ball up. Like, I don't know if you guys seen that picture going around where Dak's throwing the picture and his eyes look all messed up. One of my admins made that photo in the group, and it says, screw it, throw it over there. Amari's somewhere. I was like, this do that with Rico.
Hey, but guess what? That's good football. Hey, that's good football. That's good football sometimes. Just stand. It's like, that's what makes good quarterbacks, man. And Tony, I know people got their ill will feelings about Tony Romo, but Tony Romo said one of the most epic quotes ever. He said, if you ain't throwing interceptions, you ain't trying. You know what I'm saying? Because if you notice, these quarterbacks who tend to throw interceptions, they also tend to throw a lot of touchdowns. You know what I'm saying? People forget that cornerback is the 3rd highest played position in all of football. 3rd highest. So that means your cornerbacks are typically pretty good. So you can't knock someone for doing that. And if you notice, the really great quarterbacks, they don't even hold interceptions against them. Go Google how many interceptions Brett Favre had. Nobody talks about that, though. Want to know why? Because it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter, bruh. Tony Romo, guess what? Tony Romo threw 4 interceptions trying to win against Peyton Manning. Remember that when Peyton Manning brought his show to Dallas? Peyton Manning and Tony Romo went at it 540 freaking yards. And we still lost. You want to know why? Because we had a defense that couldn't stop Peyton Manning from going 580 yards.
Going back to what we were talking
That's
about.
why.
The hijack you Sin City before you got in there. Jess Subia just made a comment. He said, how's Dak going to throw the ball to Rico if he forgets to play? You see, those
I don't think Rico forgets to play.
On social media, they kind of open the door. And it's like, well, give me an actual scenario. Like, I'll tell you when I was at the game, the opening game, Dak clearly overthrew Rico wide open in the end zone. Yeah, like give me a scenario. Say, how's Dak gonna throw him the ball if he can't get it to him because like this play against New York, this happened. So I think a lot of folks when they see shark, you know, the shark sees blood in the water when those comments are left open doored like that, and that's how you get into that fake fan stuff that we were talking about earlier. But thanks, Jeff, for bringing that up. Not trying to attack you, but you bring up a great point. But when you do that, that's what West Coast is bringing up the facts here too. You got to support that with give us a particular scenario that's tied to support your argument, so we can have a further discussion about it. What do you think, Sin City?
I think you're exactly right. You definitely have to substantiate. If you're going to say things like that, when did he forget to play? When did that come out? I mean, I've seen him make some incredible plays in training camp. I've seen him make an incredible play in preseason where he took the ball away from a defender. That's where Dak probably was going to throw an interception, and your playmaker went up and took the ball, and we got a first down because of it. I see good things happen when he's in the game. We had a defensive holding in this last game against Washington. I only see good things happen when he's in there. Now, I've seen some miscues when both him and Swaim or Jarwin have double-teamed the defensive lineman, and they both let go of the lineman they were supposed to be blocking and moved up to the second level, leaving that defensive lineman open to tackle Ezekiel Elliott. That's just a miscommunication.
It is.
That thing can be worked on.
It is.
That just comes with time. But as far as forgetting a play, I've seen him running routes, and I have seen him overthrown, just like Tomcat said. The guy is a big target. You can throw it up there and feel comfortable about putting it up high and away. But
he's done it this season, or I think in a preseason game, didn't he throw it? He went over somebody, jumped over him, grabbed the ball, and took it.
That's the one that he saved back from an interception. Yeah, 100%.
Well, think about this.
It's just not in his area code.
Yeah, and think about this.
In his area code, he'll come down with it, but you got to get it close to him.
Yeah, and think about this. Dez Bryant. The reason why everybody thought Dez Bryant led the NFL in drops was because when they subtracted the plays where he the catches where he was literally more of a defensive position than he was in an offense, they took 5 of those off of his drops. And guess what that did? That dropped Dez under Julio Jones and Marquise Lee, who both got brand new contracts this year. Marquise Lee led the NFL in drops. And guess what the Jacksonville Jaguars did? They paid him. And guess who was number 3 in drops? Julio Jones. And you know what they did? They gave him $3 million to come back and put his helmet on. So it's just about this. Drops were important to the Dallas Cowboys. Why? Because we were the Dallas Cowboys. But before we get up out of here, man, I want to ask you guys a question, because this kind of comes up with Dak, with situations with Dak. If Anthony Brown or a cornerback missed the amount of touchdowns Dak Prescott has missed at their position, would they still be starting for the Cowboys? If Anthony Brown has given up, or if Byron Jones has given up as many touchdowns as Dak has overthrown because I'm going to be honest with you, there are 6 on film right now. 6.
Hey, bro, I'm going to tell you, I cannot stand Anthony Brown, because it seems
6.
like he gets burnt at the most critical time at every game, it seems like.
And I'm going to tell you the problem. I'm going to tell you why I have a problem with Dak Prescott missing touchdowns. I'm going to tell you why. This is the reason why I have a problem with Dak Prescott missing touchdowns. Because, Phil, have we been getting blown out?
No, we're in every game.
Or are we losing by 3? So you're going to tell me we lose by 3 and you're missing touchdowns? Bro, I have a problem. I have a problem with that.
I think after this week, on average, we've lost by like 6 points, the average points for the season.
And we're physically seeing touchdowns that he's missing.
Sure.
I don't care about the missed passes. But missed touchdowns, I can't deal with it, bro. Like a missed first down, I can swallow it. You know why, bro? Because you get 3-4 chances. Once you have a miss on a touchdown, you can almost never come back to that play. You want to know why? Because the defense is going to be like, wow, how the hell did he get that open?
Right.
Look for that play.
I think if Dak didn't win Rookie of the Year, we wouldn't be so tied to him as a team. I think that is what's got a lot of fans tied to him also. And to answer your question, if he was failing as much as he is at another position, flat out, no, he wouldn't be starting. But I'll say this, man, I don't have a whole lot of faith, and this is where I differ with some people. I don't have a whole lot of faith in our backup. I think we're wasting a roster spot on Mike White, and I think Cooper Rush is a serviceable quarterback, and he's shown flashes, and I think he may have something to bring to the team here in the next few years. I just don't think he's ready yet. But that's where it comes in about the whole competition thing that you pushed so many times. We need a quarterback that can really push Dak. And I don't know that he's on the team. If we had that, then I don't think Dak would still be out there.
Yeah, and then for all those people who say, well, Tony Romo never won us anything, this is what you need to understand about Tony Romo. When did Tony Romo ever have a team that considered to have the best offensive line ever? He had it one time, and you know what happened in 2014? We went to Green Bay, and technically, Dez caught it.
It wasn't a catch.
Well, yeah, exactly. So that's why when people try to hold, that's something else that people need to change their mind about too. When they say that Tony Romo never won anything, well, technically they stole a game from us. So technically Tony Romo did do something because the NFL came back and said, no, Dez did catch it. So if Dez did catch it, so how can these same fans be the same fans walking around saying Dez caught it, but Tony Romo didn't do anything? I thought Tony Romo threw it to him. Tony Romo is the same quarterback that had the balls on 4th and 1 to throw it to him. You want to know why? Because Tony Romo said this: if Dez Bryant is
support your comment there, West Coast. I mean, in 2016, when they came up here, he got hurt at the preseason game. That would have been the year. It still could have been the year. I mean, you talked about it offline too. Not to totally hijack the conversation, but we talked about that. We felt that.
Jeff says nobody stole anything from us. Jeff, I need to know: are you a new Cowboy fan, or are you just new to the page? Because the NFL did steal a playoff game from the Dallas Cowboys, from your team. That is a factual evidence. I need everybody to make sure that they remind Jeff that Dez caught it, and they ruled that he did not catch it, by which we had to give the ball back to Aaron Rodgers. So technically, Jeff, if I have something that's mine and you physically take it and I can't say we're not going to do it, that's called stealing. That's called stealing.
The point. This is Jeff Subia. He made this comment again. He made the comment earlier. A lot of folks out there are surfing as sharks in comment sections, waiting for a response to get it popping. You know, I don't know, maybe I'm wrong, but hey, shout out to you, Jeff, for participating on the show, man.
Hey, Jeff, you know I love you, man. You just be saying some throwed off stuff, but I love it, man, because you always give me ammunition. You got to have a target to shoot at. Remember that. But hey, and keep them coming, because we don't want to always agree and disagree too. But hey, man, I apologize, y'all, but I gotta go pick up we've been on here for an hour, and I gotta go pick up the chitterlings. So I want to go around the round table one more time, and we probably might have to do this a little bit more. We was gonna do this once a week, but I have a feeling that the people may want us to do this more than once a week. So we might have to do this. We may have to do this again sometime. So
we'll see what the feedback is we get.
All right, there we go. See there? That's when you have older people on the feed. They say stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? Hey man, hey, I'll let y'all young fellas get the last word, man, before we get up out of here.
Go ahead.
Wait, time out. Gigi says, did Romo win us a Super Bowl? We don't know if Romo won a Super Bowl because in 2014 they stole a playoff game from us. Like, you guys got to remember that. They stole a playoff game from us. So it's like this. It's like me telling you, Gigi, were you late to work this morning? Well, West Coast, they stole my car. But why you didn't just walk to work? Well, West Coast, I walked to work, but I was late. Why? Because they stole my car. You gotta filter that through. So I don't know. Could Tony Romo have went with the best offense and DeMarco Murray busting 126, Dez Bryant with 16 touchdowns? Could we have went into Atlanta and beat them the next week with Tony Romo? Hell yes, we could have.
Yeah.
Heck yeah. 2016 and 2014, the only thing that beat that team was the ref. And think about this, bro, because I know my scores. In 2016, there was not one game that was close. We were blowing people out. We either lost or blew you out. Period. Go look at it. 2014. We blew people out. We went to Washington, we went to London and blew Washington blew them out over there. Came back over here, blew them out over here. Like, man, we blew them out. That's what we did. So, you know, I know Tony Romo didn't win you anything, and I know a lot of people, you guys hold that against you, but guess what? That's not even fair to put that pressure on Dak, because guess what? If Dak don't win you one, you're going to hate Dak more than you hate Tony Romo. Why? Because Tony Romo was sitting on the sidelines when we were losing a playoff game to the Green Bay Packers, and he was healthy. There's nothing wrong with him. And I'm going to tell you, Jerry Jones, that's the real reason why Jerry Jones wants to win a Super Bowl with Dak Prescott, because Jerry Jones knows that fact. Bro, we had the second best team ever in a Cowboy symbol, and you had Tony Romo sitting on the sidelines. It's all good. You know what I'm saying? It's all good. But Dak, hey, I'm a supporter of my Cowboy, my quarterback. But at the same time, man, you got to earn my support. Like, I didn't instantly love Tony Romo. Like, I didn't. I don't think anybody did.
I think we all loved him more after his Football Life came out. I know.
Yep. And that's funny how I think we all respected him more after what happened, too. Because we didn't. Once you saw, you were like, damn.
And what it was like back there, and more about a person, who he was. I had total new respect for him after that fact, and then really thought about the things he had to fight on that team to get through that for us to criticize him in the way that some of us continue to do.
Yeah, did you see his wife crying, bro? Like, man, I want my wife to cry over my career like that, bro. Like, they took that. She a gamer! Bro, like, she a gamer, bro. I was looking at her like, you got you one, Tony. Got you one.
I really never felt the way that I felt for him the way I did after I watched that Football Life. I thought he was a great quarterback. I think he was very serviceable, but I always felt he was snake bitten, man. A lot of that has to do with the pieces around him, you know. And what I mean by snake bitten is, and the definition of that, just to articulate, just somebody where, man, there's just always bad luck. Something always terrible happens to him. And it kind of really is true with him, whether it was injury, whether it was somebody surrounding him not making a play or making a dumb play, or whether it was the referee stepping in and stealing one from him. But, yeah, I agree, man. Yeah, I definitely, when I saw that Football Life, man, it really changed a lot of things. And you really kind of wish that he'd have had one more go at it, you know. But it is what it is, man. We got a good team. I'm excited, man. I'm looking forward to the news that comes out with our new players. I think we got a good opportunity coming out. And I'm looking forward to this next game against Tennessee.
Shoot. I heard that. What's tomorrow? Thursday? Tomorrow, Thursday? Hey, y'all, you know what? We may surprise y'all again with a show later on this week. So so make sure y'all stay tuned, and we might just do a roundtable on Sunday too, man. I like this. I ain't gonna lie, I like this. I like having a bunch of.
I like to bring the fan perspective more. Like, you guys are the X's and O's, man. Let me bring a little bit of the fan perspective, and because a lot of your followers, West Coast and Sin City, they're in the official America's team group. I see a lot of them that are commenting on it. I know they're in the group. So great.
So hey, man, I already told Sin City that he is banned from praying at all black barbecues. Can't do it. We be standing there with our plates waiting to eat our food, and he be, thank the Lord, bless the dog, Lord, touch the dog. Right. Pray over the food and let's go. You know? But hey, so I'm going to do the final thing. Hey, man, you already know what it is, man. I'm West Coast Cowboy. Never look down because the stars are up. Peace.